After working as a full-time editor for over 20 years, I've used a ton of different tools to try and improve my workflow, fix problems, and make my life a little bit easier. In this video, I'm going to show you the ones I find myself reaching for time and again. And before you ask, this is not a sponsored video. No one that works with the products or the companies I'm about to mention know that I'm making this video, or that I even exist for the most part. These are just legitimately the tools I use all the time. Let's start with getting your footage from your camera to your computer. This is one of the most boring and time-consuming parts of the job, but it's also one of the most important. If you get this wrong and then you format your card, you could very easily lose all your footage forever. So you need to do something a bit more secure than just dragging the files into a Finder window. The tool that we use here is Shotput Pro. You plug in your memory card and Shotput Pro automatically detects it. Then you tell it where to copy the footage, and you can send it to multiple hard drives for safety. When you hit start, it doesn't just copy the files, it performs a checksum function. Think of a checksum like a digital fingerprint. When Shotput Pro makes a copy, it reads the digital fingerprint of the original file and compares it to the copy. If a single 1 or 0 is out of place, it alerts you. When it's finished, it gives you a fancy PDF report with thumbnails of every clip. You might know that DaVinci Resolve actually has a clone tool in the media page that's pretty similar, including the checksum verification part. But the real reason we pay for Shotput Pro is the report. If a client claims a file is missing, you've got a time-stamped document showing that you did your job correctly and copied everything you were given. Now, I don't know about you, but there are plenty of times where I have to grab a video from YouTube or Facebook, usually because I've asked a client to send me some footage and they don't know where it is, so they just tell me to grab it from their YouTube channel. There are God knows how many websites with free video downloaders, usually covered in pop-ups and phishing scams, and half the time they don't even work. So stay away from all of those and use this free tool called ClipGrab that you install on your machine. It's super easy to use. You just copy the link to the video you want, paste it into the search bar, choose your quality, and click Grab this clip. Then it downloads the video to your computer, ready to be dragged straight into your project. If you're asking why not just screen record the video while it plays, well, when you screen record something that you're watching on the internet, you're just recording the pixels of your monitor. If the internet stutters, the video stutters. If you get a notification, it pops up in your footage, and you're limited to your screen's resolution. ClipGrab downloads the video directly from the website. That means no buffering glitches, no mouse cursors in the way, and no loss of resolution. If you downloaded a zip file but you seem to have trouble opening it, this next free Mac utility will hopefully do the trick. It's called the Unarchiver. Now, while Macs already come with a tool called Archive Utility, and a lot of the time it works just fine opening zip files, there are some it just refuses to open for some reason, and it often fails completely if you're trying to open other formats like RAR or 7-zip. The Unarchiver opens pretty much anything, and it's one of the first tools that I install on any new Mac I find myself working on. It's been a long time since I edited on a PC, so if you run into similar problems and there's a similar tool that you recommend, let me know down in the comments in case anyone else watching this needs some help. Now, along with the Unarchiver, there are a couple of other free tools that are immediate installs for me, and these ones work on PC as well as Mac. The first is VLC, which is the Swiss Army knife of video players. It's a free open source program that can play virtually any video file in existence. If you've got a video that won't open, it's corrupted, or is in a weird format from 15 years ago, VLC is the tool that will probably be able to play it. Now, I can't speak to Windows Media Player, but if you're a Mac user, you've probably noticed that QuickTime is a bit of a picky eater. If you try and open a file it doesn't like, it either gives you an error or forces you to wait while it converts it to another format. QuickTime uses macOS's built-in media frameworks and codecs to play video. Think of them like dictionaries it uses to decode the file you've tried to open. If macOS doesn't include a decoder for the codec you used in a file, QuickTime won't be able to play it. VLC carries its own set of dictionaries or decoders. It's got almost every video language or codec ever invented built right into the app, so it doesn't need to ask your computer for help. The next free Swiss Army knife is Shutter Encoder. Now, technically this is donationware. You can download it for free, but it will launch a PayPal link to make a donation if you wish. You can totally just ignore that and use it for free, but it has more than earned a donation from me over the years. On its face, it's a transcoder. It's a fancy word for a video translator. It takes a video file that's in one format and converts it into another. Sometimes you'll get a file that Resolve simply refuses to read. It can take that weird file and convert it into a different format that Resolve will work with. It's easy to use. You drag one or more video files into the window, choose the preset or format you want it to become, and hit Start Function. But it's much more than just a video converter. You can create audio files. You can use it to trim the bad parts out of a video clip. And depending on the format, you can do that without re-encoding the file. You can crop footage, apply LUTs. You can burn timecode and clip names directly into the image for client drafts. It even lets you download videos directly from websites like YouTube, and it's got a full subtitle editor built right in. A crazy amount of functionality for a free tool. Now, these next two aren't strictly for editing, they're more kind of general peace of mind tools. They are for the Mac, so all you PC users can skip ahead to this bit for the rest of the tools. The first is Carbon Copy Cloner. It's a program that makes an exact, perfect duplicate of your hard drive. If your main editing drive fails, which, let's be honest, eventually happens to all hard drives, this ensures that you've got a backup drive that's ready to go immediately. Now, I'm not using that here at the office because all of our media is on a server that's constantly being backed up. This is something I use on my home machine to keep my RAID backed up. You select your source, which in my case is the RAID, and your destination, which is your backup drive. When you run it, it looks at both drives, sees what's different, and copies only the new or changed files, and then checks to make sure everything's been copied correctly. I've got it scheduled to run every night while I sleep. If your media hard drive dies in the middle of a project, and you are keeping your media on a separate hard drive, right? You're not using your internal drive. Please tell me that. Well, with Carbon Copy Cloner keeping everything safe, you can just switch to using your backup drive and then keep on editing. No more waiting around. The other tool I use a lot is Clean My Mac. It's like a housekeeper for your computer. Over time, your Mac gets cluttered with invisible junk, old cache files, broken downloads, and leftovers from apps you deleted years ago. This tool finds all of that rubbish and takes it out. You open it up and hit scan. It quickly looks through your entire system for digital junk, potential malware threats, and ways to speed up your computer. Then you just click run and it scrubs everything clean. It's also got a feature called Space Lens. It builds a visual map of any hard drive you choose. Instead of a list of file names, it shows you folders as big bubbles. The bigger the bubble, the more space it takes up. This makes it incredibly easy to spot that one folder where you accidentally dumped 500 gigs of render files and then you forgot all about them. It's also useful for uninstalling apps. When you drag an app to the trash on a Mac, it leaves behind tiny hidden files, preference files, launch agents, support folders, and over the years, that can add up to a lot of wasted space. Clean My Mac has an uninstaller that tracks down every single piece of data attached to an app and deletes it all. That ensures that when you remove something, it's truly gone. Okay, now I want to show a couple of plugins that I use. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time talking about things like film emulations. I've used Dehancer and Film Emulsion by Pixel Tools, and I've made videos showing those off that I'll link to below. The plugins I want to show you in this section are repair tools. A lot of the work we do here is filmed documentary style in environments that we can't always control, and these tools have saved my bacon on a number of occasions. Isotope RX is widely considered the industry standard for fixing bad audio. While the full professional version is pretty expensive, the Elements version is much cheaper and gives you the 6 most essential tools: Repair Assistant, Declick, Voice Denoise, Dereverb, Dehum, and the one that saves my edits the most, Declip. Declip fixes audio that's been blown out. You know when someone yells into a microphone really loudly and the audio sounds sort of crunchy and distorted? That's called clipping. In digital audio, the top of the sound wave has literally been chopped off because it was too loud for the audio device to record. When you run Declip, it uses advanced maths to look at that flat, chopped off mountaintop and guess what the peak should have looked like. It essentially draws the missing part of the sound wave back in. I don't know how it works, but I am very grateful that it exists. Another tool I want to point out is Flicker Free, which is a plugin designed to save footage that looks ruined by strobing lights. Now, you've probably seen this problem before. You film in a room with LED lights or old fluorescent bulbs. When you play the video back, there's like a weird buzzing, pulsing effect on the screen. Or maybe you filmed a computer monitor and there's rolling bars moving down the image. Flicker Free removes all that. It's very easy to use. You just drag the effect onto your clip and you choose a preset based on what went wrong. The plugin then analyzes the video and looks at the brightness of every single frame and then smooths out the changes. If you've got the studio version of Resolve, you've already got a deflicker effect built in, and for most simple problems, that version works just great, but sometimes that built-in tool kind of struggles. Flicker Free is my break glass in case of emergency tool. It uses a different method to calculate that flicker, so it often succeeds where the built-in tool fails. If Resolve can't fix it, this plugin usually can. These next few tools don't really fit well into a category, so I'm going to lump them in together. The first one is from Elgato. You've probably seen those little light-up boxes on the desk of streamers and editors covered in buttons with pictures on them. Those are Stream Decks. I've recently started experimenting with the Stream Deck app. It turns the smartphone or tablet that you already own into one of those control panels. It lets you test out the workflow relatively cheaply without having to spend hundreds of dollars on the physical hardware. You install a small program on your computer and the app on your phone or your tablet, and over your Wi-Fi they talk to each other, and then your screen fills up with a grid of buttons. You can program a single button to do almost anything. One button could launch DaVinci Resolve, another could perform a shortcut, but where it gets really powerful is with macros. You can program one button to perform a sequence of multiple different keystrokes instantly. The point of the Stream Deck is that it uses visual icons, so instead of memorizing a bunch of keystrokes, you just look at your screen and then you tap the button that looks like a razor blade to cut, or the button that looks like a color wheel to switch to the color page. It reduces the mental load. You stop thinking about how to do the task and you just do it. Also thinking about maybe investing in an iPad that I can use as another monitor and then turn it into a massive stream deck when I need it. Another tool I've been using a lot recently is Text Sniper. It lets you copy text that's normally impossible to copy. When you see some text on screen, like an error message or a title card in a video or a menu button, and you can't highlight it with your mouse, Text Sniper fixes that. It works like taking a screenshot. You hit the keyboard shortcut and the mouse turns into a crosshair. You drag a box around any words on your screen, but instead of saving a picture, it just reads the words inside the box and copies them as text to your clipboard. Then you just hit paste wherever you need to write that text down. Now, this is a lifesaver for editors when you need to copy a specific file path or a weird error code to send to a tech support or the credits from a video clip. If you can see it, you can copy it. Then there's Visual Studio Code, which is a free open source code editor from Microsoft. It's basically a text processor, but instead of writing essays or emails, it's made for writing computer code. I use this to write custom scripts for DaVinci Resolve or for making tweaks to macros that I've made in Fusion. Now, you can write code in a normal text editor, but it is much more annoying. This has a feature called syntax highlighting. It automatically colors your code, and that makes the code much easier to read and helps you spot mistakes instantly. It's also got AI features like GitHub Copilot that can help write code for you, but personally I just use it for the clean interface. I've been writing scripts a lot recently to try and speed up my most boring tasks, and I'm actually planning a full video soon to show you what I built, so stay tuned for that. The next thing I want to show you is Parsec. It's a remote desktop app that I use to connect my cheaper computer that I've got at home to the more powerful one here at the office. It's installed on both computers and it streams my work computer screen to my home machine over the internet. Most remote desktop apps are designed for sending emails or writing in spreadsheets, and a lot of times they're super laggy. Now, Parsec was originally built for playing video games, so that means it's incredibly fast. When I press play on the computer at home, the timeline on my work computer starts moving instantly. The picture quality is so high, I can actually make creative editing decisions remotely. However, it is not perfect. I've run into two specific headaches with Parsec. Firstly, the app sometimes crashes on the work computer, and when that happens, I'm just completely locked out. And secondly, Parsec's got this really annoying habit of keeping the office monitors awake, even if I'm not actively using it, and if I'm not careful, that could cause burn-in, where a ghost image gets permanently stuck on my expensive screens. Now, because of those glitches, I also use a free tool called Chrome Remote Desktop. I don't use this for editing because it's way too slow and jerky for video playback. I just use it as a backdoor. If Parsec crashes, I log in with Chrome Remote Desktop, restart the Parsec app, and get everything running again. It also means I don't have to leave Parsec running at all times. I can use this to open Parsec on the work computer when I need it, so no more permanently on computer monitors. Here are a few tools I use for teaching and making YouTube videos like this. The first is OBS, which stands for Open Broadcaster Software. It's a completely free program that records your computer screen. Now, if you've ever watched a streamer on Twitch or a tutorial on YouTube where the speaker's face is in the corner of the screen, they were probably using OBS. Think of it like a TV studio control room inside your computer. You use it to build scenes. You create a scene that shows your DaVinci Resolve interface, then you add a layer on top that shows your webcam in the corner, or you could add a logo or a fancy border. Now, admittedly, I just use it to record the UI of Resolve and not to add a bunch of layers on top. I'd rather do that in the edit, so then I've got some more flexibility for when and where I add things. But another handy feature is all the audio control, because it lets you record your microphone on one track and your computer's sound on a separate track. And this is huge for editing because then you can set the levels for both of them independently and you can change them whenever you need to. One tool I use for all of these YouTube videos is actually made by my mate Alex, who most of you will probably know here on YouTube as Mr. Alex Tech. It's a tool called Magic Zoom. When you see the video smoothly zoom in on a tiny button in the Resolve interface and then zoom back out, that's the tool I'm using. Now here's the trick that makes it so fast. I don't put the effect on a video clip. Instead, I put it on an adjustment clip on the layer above in my timeline. That way, if there are any cuts in the footage or speed changes, that's not going to mess with the timing of the zooms. I just make the adjustment clip as long as I need the effect to last, and then I can make whatever changes I need to the footage underneath. Now, of course, I could do all of this using the zoom and position controls in the inspector, but doing it manually is really slow. You've got to set keyframes of zoom and position, and then mess with the graphs to make the movement look smooth. If I want to change any durations, I'm messing with the keyframes some more. With this workflow, once I set up one zoom, I can just duplicate that adjustment clip and drag it somewhere else in the timeline. I can stretch it out to make the zoom last longer, or shrink it to make it shorter. It automatically adjusts the animation to fit that new length. It turns a repetitive 2-minute task into a 5-second one, which is a lifesaver when I've got to zoom in countless times for a single video. Now, while I can zoom in on the screen and highlight things when I'm making these YouTube videos, I need something else when I'm teaching in person or over a video call. Now for that, I turn to Cursor Pro, which is a tiny menu bar app that changes how your mouse pointer looks on screen. It adds a customizable glowing ring around the cursor. If I'm showing a complex UI in Resolve and I want to show a tiny button, I can just hold a hotkey and it instantly zooms in on the specific area of the screen like a digital magnifying glass. macOS does let you make the pointer bigger in the accessibility settings, and if you shake your mouse, it gets huge for a second so you can find it, but those are features that are designed for you to find the mouse. Cursor Pro is designed for the audience to follow the mouse. Since this is a DaVinci Resolve YouTube channel, some of you might be surprised by the next one, which is Adobe Creative Cloud. This is the big subscription that includes Premiere Pro, After Effects, and Photoshop, and a bunch of other tools. And yes, we are still paying for a few monthly subscriptions. Now, why? It comes down to one word: compatibility. Even though we all edit in Resolve, the rest of the world doesn't always agree with us. There are times when clients or freelance people we hire send us projects edited in Premiere Pro, or complex animations that they built in After Effects. And to open those files, to check them, or to export assets, I have to have the Adobe software installed. And then there's Photoshop and Illustrator. Now, I've been watching Adobe's competitor Affinity really closely. They were purchased by Canva a little while back, and recently they dropped a big bombshell. They've released a version of the software that is completely free to use. And they do have some advanced AI tools that are going to require a paid Canva subscription, but the core design tools are now free for everyone. So why haven't I switched? Because I'm sort of caught in this bundle trap. Since I need to keep my Adobe subscription for Premiere Pro and After Effects until all of the people that still use it see the light, I essentially get Photoshop and Illustrator for free in that package. Even though Affinity is free now, learning a new tool is going to take time, and since I'm already forced to pay for the Adobe suite, I haven't really found the motivation to relearn my muscle memory just yet. So for now, Creative Cloud is going to stay on my dock. With all that said, I want to hear from you. Now, if there are tools that I haven't mentioned that you absolutely swear by, or if you've got better options for the tools that I'm using, I want to know about them. So let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, be sure to hit the like button because it's going to help other people find this video. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on more Resolve tips and tricks like these. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.